Welcome to day 6 of a 7-day start, and you are just about there. And today is such an important topic for us to discuss. We've talked about you knowing God. It's significant, and I hope that you're developing just a great relationship. He loves you, He cares about you, He wants relationship with you. And we've talked about freedom, how you can become free through what Jesus did and the word of your testimony. Today I want to talk about finding a family. You were created to belong. We all know that. Internally, we want to belong. It's one of the greatest needs of man. But not only do we want to belong and be known, but we also want to be needed. We want to have purpose to relationships in our lives. We want to connect with others. And so while you've been developing this personal devotional life with God, I want to share with you what really now begins to open up this thing called Christianity. And it is being in relationship with other people as well as being in relationship with God. You know, real life change comes through the context of relationship. And that's why Jesus, before He left the earth, He didn't just come and die on the cross and rise again from the dead so that we could be saved and have a relationship and be forgiven. But He also established the church, what we know of as the church. And the church is not a building, it's not a location. The church are people. You're a part of the church if you're a follower of Jesus, just like me. And the church is designed to help carry on the work that Jesus, to spread the gospel, no doubt, but to encourage and to help each other and to walk in relationship. Jesus says in Matthew 16, He says, I will build my church. And it wasn't, so you need to understand the church wasn't man's idea, it was God's idea. He wants us to be in relationship with other believers. You know, when you consider the church in the book of Acts, think about how they operated. The Bible says that they gathered in temples, worship, but they also gathered daily house to house. So there was a time that they all came together and they met in a large gathering, let's say. But then there was also a time where they broke down into groups in people's homes and really had more intimate relationship. And so that's one of the things we want you to talk about. Yes, you belong to the church, universal, Jesus Christ. You're part of His church. But you also need relationships in your life. You see, because it's out of relationship, again, go back to the book of Acts. In relationships, groups, they took care of each other. They helped meet needs that each one of them individually had. There was a sense of God's presence and inside and outside of the church because they were in real relationship. One of the things I love about groups and finding family is that in our groups, that's where we find our family and we connect and we belong and we're needed and we're known. And it's also a place where we can really practice what I call practicing the one another's. There are over 60 times in the New Testament alone that the writers of the New Testament tell us to do things like this, like you should love one another. You should pray for one another. You should encourage one another. You should stir one another on to good works. See, I believe this. You can't really fulfill the teachings of Jesus and be a quote-unquote good Christian unless you are in relationship with other people of God. And so here's what I know. The enemy will always try to keep you isolated. He'll try to keep you so busy, I don't have time for relationship. Or maybe in the past you've had bad experiences with relationship and you've been betrayed or hurt or burned. And so you've sort of like, you know what, I love Jesus, I can't go there in relationship. And can I tell you, that's one of the things the enemy loves to do is because he wants you to be offended or he wants you to be hurt, but ultimately he wants you to be isolated. Because when you and I are isolated, we are at our most vulnerable place. See, listen to 1 Peter 5 says this, stay alert and watch out for your great enemy, the devil. He prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. See, if the enemy can isolate you, then you become easy prey. He can pick you off. It's when you stand with another brother, another sister, that you gain strength. Hebrews says this, let us not neglect the meeting together, whether it's the temple or house to house. He says, as some people do, but encourage one another. There's that one another, especially now the day of His return is drawing near. One of the things we do when we get in relationship, when we get in group, when we get in family, is we're encouraging one another. See, you need to be around people of like faith who can help grow and encourage your new relationship with Jesus. And so sometimes what happens as we come to Christ, maybe some of our old relationships, they sort of fall away. And that can be challenging and discouraging, I know. But listen, I believe that Jesus has all kinds of new relationships to bring into your life that are going to help you become who God has called you to be.